I think what's changed exponentially, especially in New York City, that if a young kid worked for me as a sous chef and wanted to strike out on their own and open their own restaurant, in New York City, the restaurants used to be handed down to one another.
Yep.
But what's happened in major cities is those restaurants are being demolished, and we're getting another pharmacy, we're getting another Chase Bank.
Yep.
So it's nearly impossible.
Opportunity is narrower than it was.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible for a young person to strike out on their own without enormous amounts of capital and resource.
Right.
So that's what I've seen that's changed
Yeah.
hugely, is that it's really hard for an independent operator, chef, to strike out on their own.
But there are obviously this generation's independent operators, people who want to do this, people who have talent. We'll talk about this in a couple of minutes, but the food culture in this country, as a consequence of food television, I'm convinced, has completely blown up.
Yep.
Everybody wants to be Aaron Sanchez. Everybody wants to be Jeffrey Zakarian. Everybody wants to be Marcus Samuelsson, right? I mean, you guys are the new celebrities and people want to emulate you. So if the opportunity doesn't exist in the big cities to follow in your footsteps, where are they being pushed down to or pushed out to?
No, that's a very good question. I think you're starting to see the phenomenon with food trucks. Now we have all these market halls, right?
Right.
Where people, young chefs that are very talented, open their little stalls within these markets.
Yeah.
And the idea that somehow it translates to a brick and mortar. So I think the secondary cities are going to start to see a lot of chefs from big cities go there.
Well, that's
strike out.
That's exactly where I was going, and I think that ultimately maybe this is a positive for the rest of the country. You no longer have to be a coastal elite to enjoy the benefits of high cuisine or of these kind of entrepreneurial, innovative young chefs. Because if they can't be in New York or Los Angeles, maybe they're opening a restaurant in Columbus or in Charlotte. And honestly, to come back to food television for a second, when I see all these chefs competing on the shows that you either host or where you're a judge, often as not, they're from these secondary or tertiary markets. And I'm like, they have a restaurant like that in blank, in Akron?
Yeah.
Now they do.
Absolutely. And to your point is that food television has created an awareness for these markets because it translates messages right away.
Right.
So now, subsequently, you have markets that are presenting good sea salt and great olive oil.
Right.
And people are understanding the importance of knowing where your ingredients come from. And that is having an overall effect to these secondary markets.
That's actually really interesting also, that the supermarket culture of this country has also, on a parallel track, transformed.
Absolutely.
And so that sourcing ingredients, which might have been harder once upon a time.
Yep.
I mean, I want to say in a kind of lazy, Austin-centric way, well, there's a Whole Foods in places all over the country now, and so you can just go get higher level ingredients, but it's not just the Whole Foodses of the world. Basically, those ingredients, because of the access on the internet, you can get stuff delivered now, like, in a day or two. You have a different opportunity than you once upon a time did.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I'm exasperated at the idea of, like, when the chef says, "I'm all about farm to table." I'm like, dude, that's not a novelty. It's been happening since the beginning of time.
Right. You may be,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. You may be aware of it, but we, for the first time, but
That's how it usually worked. You know what I mean? Find the ingredients closest to you, manipulate them the least,
Right.
and
We're
let
all locavores, buddy. That's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or the other one I love is chef-driven restaurant.
Right.
As opposed to a dishwasher-driven restaurant. And it's like, we get infatuated with these little terms,
Right.
Umami and all these things.
Yeah.
I'm like, umami is like rotten mushrooms. Like, that's what that flavor is, okay?
Right,
Just to throw it out there.
Come on.
You know what I mean?